The barrier to entry is so low that you make the good choices as easy, if not easier than the bad ones, so you can keep progressing through the good times and the bad. Hey guys, welcome to The Edge, where I take everything that I've learned over the past decade in elite sport, coaching and performance and break it down into simple, practical systems that actually work in real life. No fluff, no complexity, just clear, effective strategies that you can use to go from feeling stuck, tired or inconsistent to feeling strong again, sharp and in control of your body again. If you don't know who I am, my name is Owen Keeley. I'm a performance coach, international athlete and national record holder. Over the past few years, I've helped hundreds of high performers over 30 lose stubborn belly fat, build real strength and optimize their day-to-day energy and performance. So let's jump. Today we are going to be covering why you can't stick to dieting. It's a huge topic, and by the end of it today, you'll have a good understanding of the 3 biggest reasons that diets fall apart and the structure that finally makes consistency effortless. I'll hop into the biggest and the first reason that most people fail when it comes to dieting, and it's one that's going to catch a lot of people out. It is actually perfectionism. So number 1 is going to be the all or nothing or perfectionism mindset. That kind of mindset of all or nothing, when eventually something goes and you're into that guilt loop. One slip means I ruined the day and now the week is ruined as well. My good run, my good momentum, my good streak, whatever metric we've decided is important this time, we've let that take control of us and we've let it ruin the day or the week. This is detrimental for so many reasons. It leads to the mindset of stopping and starting. We're all in, we're doing everything we can. And then if one little thing slips, and then because of this one little, it could be a 1% change in our schedule or in our actions or what we do, our mindset goes down the gutter. We let everything fall apart. We have that pity, the poor decisions that follow, and then we have the guilt that follows on from that. Just really not a good place to be. When it comes to this, what we want to think about doing is we want to basically think about progression over perfection. Because the reality is, there are going to be very few times in your life where everything is going to be perfect when it comes to health and fitness. This is an infinite game, health and fitness. It's something that you never complete. You never achieve the goal and you're done and you don't have to do it anymore. You don't have to think about it. It goes on and on and on. And the goal here is to be as good as you can for as long as you can. So we really want to think about kind of shifting our mindset to actually suit that. It means that, if we're put in situations where we don't have perfect circumstances or where we can't, complete our training week 100%, we can't follow maybe our calorie mark or our protein intake 100%, it means that, okay, what can I do? What's in my control here? Can I make 80%? Maybe I can't. Maybe sometimes 60% is all we can do. But you know what? Taking that better choice and doing 60% is going to be a hell of a lot better than going, you know what, because it's not 100%, I'm going to do nothing. I'm going to let everything fall apart. I'm going to start again next week. That's what we don't want to do. That's what's really detrimental. And that's what's going to lead you to making almost no progress. Because again, the minute something pops up, which it will, it's going to derail you. When we can shift our mindset as well, and we kind of see progression as being better than perfection, what this leads to is it leads to much more steady motivation. We're less reliant on motivation because we are doing this for progress to get better. We're not doing this just to be perfect. So the fact that, a lot of the time we can make progress off of 70, 80% of just doing 70 or 80% of the inputs reasonably well, we don't need the full. It takes away that kind of external pressure that you've decided to put on yourself, just gives us more of a growth orientated mindset through good days and bad days. This is the big thing. And with time, the bad days will become less bad. The good days will still be good and will lead to steadier progress, a smoother mindset, and a smoother journey overall. And to give you another quick one here, because this is something that I really, really think is understated in the fitness industry in general, but is incredibly useful as a message to a hell of a lot of people. And that is, we want to think about lowering our friction rather than raising our motivation. What I mean by this is basically lowering how difficult it is to get a task done, to get your inputs done. And we put more time and energy into making sure that we are lowering friction as much as we can instead of raising motivation. To give you an example for this to help the understanding. So instead of following a rigid meal plan where I'm eating eggs and oats for breakfast, chicken and rice for lunch, and chicken and broccoli for dinner as well, I'm actually going to follow a slightly more flexible approach here. I'm going to give myself more options. I'm going to give myself more flexibility. I'm going to give myself more interesting food choices that still achieve my caloric and protein goal for that day. So that's lowering our friction. We have more flexibility. We're making it more sustainable. We want to value that more highly than, say, raising our motivation. So instead of getting a meal plan and going, okay, I didn't stick to this meal plan last time, I didn't stick to it this time again. Next time, I just need to really be more disciplined. I just need to be more disciplined and follow it better and not make a mistake. That would be an example of raising motivation. And that's what 90% of people do. Instead of doing this, what we want to think about doing is lowering the friction. Bring more flexibility in. Make it easier for you to make the better choice. And when you do that, you make it easier to keep progressing even when you don't make perfect choices, because the friction, the barrier to entry is so low that you make the good choices as easy, if not easier than the bad ones, so you can keep progressing through the good times and the bad. Okay, and this leads us on very nicely to point number 2. And point number 2 is going to be not having a structure. We did touch on having an element of flexibility. This is very important. We do need flexibility, but we need structure to be a backbone so that we can be flexible from the structure. Without any sort of structure in there, it's going to lead to too many decisions, which is going to lead to burnout. If you're having to think about every meal, if you're having to do calculations for every single meal, it's just a failure waiting to happen. When it comes to structure, there's plenty of different approaches that you can follow to bring more structure into your diet. One that we use inside the Everyday Stronger method is that for nutrition, we have a 3x3 method. What this is we basically have 3 meals a day, which most people are going to eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner. That's going to achieve their nutritional goals for the most part. And we're going to have 3 templated meals for each one. So we have 3 options for breakfast, 3 for lunch, and 3 for dinner. Okay. And what we want to do for these meals is pick foods that you already eat, that you already enjoy, that are already easy and sustainable to eat. Then we want to get basically our caloric and protein goal for the day. If you're unsure what that number is, I've made a video on this. You can check it out below, or you can even hop onto my website. It's everydaystrongermethod.com, and you can hop on and there's a free calculator that will actually calculate your daily caloric and protein need based off of your body weight, your activity levels, everything like that. So you can hop on, check it out as well. But basically, we want to get your caloric and protein goal. We want to think about, to keep it simple, divide it by 3. And then with each one of those meals, whatever foods we're having, we want to manipulate quantities to hit your caloric goal and your protein goal for that meal. And it's as simple as that. Once you have these 9 pre-made templated meals ready, it means that when you get to breakfast, you already know, okay, I can do this, and it's going to achieve my calorie goal and my protein goal. For lunch, I could do this. Okay, what am I feeling? It's going to achieve that goal again. For dinner, the same thing. And it means that you have a structure, you have a backbone there that gives you flexibility, that still achieves your goals. And then if you want to go off plan, if you want to have, say, a pizza at night, that's no problem at all. That's the time that you can actually track your calories, you can track your protein, and you can see, okay, cool, am I still hitting my calorie goal for the day? If I am, good. And you can do that little calculation. And because it's just one meal that you're doing in, a week, or maybe you're doing it twice a week, it's nearly no extra decisions that you're having to make. It's not going to lead to that burnout that having no structure will. Okay. Structure, we want to think about with this, utilizing some sort of structure, whether it's templates, whether it's some sort of repetition throughout the meal, throughout the week. The 3x3 method, like we do within the Everyday Stronger method. Make life easier on yourself. Have a structure. This goes for our training as well. Have a training plan. Don't just be going into the gym and doing, that looks good today, and then this looks good, and I don't know what I did on this for weight or kilos last week. I'm going to go heavy, know what to do, know what your warm-ups are, know what your working sets are, know what you did last week, know what you need to be progressing. If you're not doing this, you're just making it harder on yourself. And this is really not what we want to be doing if we're struggling to stick to things here. We want to make life easier. Again, lower the friction, don't raise the motivation. That's the big goal with this. Now that we've gotten those in play, so we know that we're not going in with an all or nothing mindset. We know that we are prioritizing progression over perfection. We're thinking about lowering friction rather than raising motivation. We're thinking about having a structure. So whether it's the 3x3 method, whether it's just some meals that we enjoy, it could be one meal for each. And then, we stick to that most of the time. Again, each one of these actions that we're taking, we're increasing the chances, we're increasing the likelihood that we're going to stick to the plan for longer to make it sustainable. Number 3, then, is something that we only want to be doing when we have the first 2 in play. So if you've got 1 done, you can move on to 2. If you've got 2 done, you can move on to 3. And 3 is going to be to actually embrace some flexibility. Once we have our base structure in play, that's our backbone. We can make variations off of that. Okay, we can have a meal out here. We can tweak this meal there. We can make those little variations. We can make those substitutions, those swaps. We can have flexibility from it. The big thing here is it's not going to be done too frequently, which is going to lead to burnout, anxiety. It's going to lead to just too much time and effort and thinking needed for the process to actually work. Okay. When we're talking about flexibility from a nutrition perspective, there's kind of two ways that we can be flexible. So I touched on earlier that basically, say we want to have pizza this evening. I've had my normal breakfast and I've had my normal lunch. So I've checked off a third of my calorie goal for breakfast. I've checked off a third of my calorie goal and protein goal for lunch. And then I'm left with basically I have a third of my calories for the day and a third of my protein for the day for dinner. Option number one is going to be that we stick to daily goals. And that means that we have pizza, but we just manipulate portion size. So instead of having a whole pizza, that's probably going to be like 2,000 calories, we will just have a third of our calories for the day worth of pizza. Okay. So say, for example, our daily calorie mark is 3,000 calories. That means for dinner, we can have 1,000 calories worth of pizza. And we've still checked our daily calorie goal, which is number one. So we're still on track. So that's the first option, is that we still hit our daily calorie goals. And it means that we're just going to have to manipulate portion of whatever we're having. If it's pancakes in the morning, if it's sushi for lunch, if it's pizza for dinner, just manipulate portion size. Most restaurants are going to have an online menu. A lot of them are going to have a calorie count on that. If they don't, you can just estimate portion size, estimate what you need. If you're bringing it home, weigh it out. If you're not, just estimate the portion that you're having and try and hit roughly ballpark the calories that you need for that meal. Okay, so that's number one. Number two is going to be that we actually think about borrowing calories from another day during the week. Okay, so for most people, just aiming for a simple daily calorie goal and daily protein goal is going to be the simplest, easiest way of making progress. However, when you look at the literature, you look at the research, and you actually look at this in practice, what's more important than your daily calorie intake is going to be actually your weekly average calorie intake. This means that as long as you're hitting what you need to be hitting across the average of a week, you're going to be going where you want to go. So say, for example, if you want to lose fat, as long as you're eating in a caloric deficit across the average of the week, it doesn't matter if you're only, say for an extreme, if you're only eating every second day. If you fast every second day and then you eat double the calories every second day, you're still going to be losing weight at the same rate as if you ate that calorie goal every single day. Okay. Now, for most people, this is not something that I advise because it becomes a little bit more complicated. There's a little bit more thinking to it. But to give you a practical example of where it can work well, say, for example, on Saturday, you go out with friends and you have, say, pizza, and you have that 2,000 calorie pizza. Okay. And you've had 2,000 calories already for that day. So in total, you've had 1,000 calories on Saturday instead of your 3,000 calorie daily goal. That means if you've eaten 3,000 calories Monday through Friday, your average is going to be 3,000. On Saturdays, 4,000, so it brings it up. If you were to eat 3,000 on Sunday, your calorie average for the week would be over 3,000. So instead, what you're going to do is you're going to drop your calories on Sunday from 3,000 to 2,000. And then the average of the 2 days, the average of Saturday and Sunday works out to 3,000 calories. And then across the span of the week, you're good. You're on 3,000 calories average, okay? So this is something that we can utilize, again, if we need to. If we're a little bit more advanced, this would be something I'd say, yeah, feel free, lean into it. If you're a bit more beginner, if you're a bit more new to this, I would advise against it because it can lead to these cycles where you overeat one day and undereat the next, and it leads to just inconsistency. It leads to kind of a bit of a headache with tracking, and it can lead to inconsistent energy levels as well day to day. So to recap what we went over, number one is going to be to think about losing perfectionism. So progress over perfection. Think about lowering the friction instead of raising motivation. This is probably the biggest point from today. If I can really try and drive something home, this is what I would say to focus on. Apart from this, we did talk about having a structure as well. So again, no structure, you're just increasing your chances that you are going to fail. So do incorporate some sort of structure. We want to think about having flexibility as well. Once we have a structure in play, once we're following it consistently, then we can think about having a bit of flexibility and veering outside of that backbone that we have created. If this helped you today, please do drop a like, a rating if you're listening to it on Spotify, or share it with someone who constantly feels they need to, restart on Monday or do better next week. It'll help them massively, and it helps us grow the channel as well, which we really do appreciate. If you do want a personalized system that does guarantee consistency and results without extreme dieting, that's exactly what we do inside the Everyday Stronger method. So feel free to book in a chat by clicking the link below, or drop us an email or a DM on Instagram. I'd be happy to get back to you when I have a chance. In the meantime, hope you have a great rest of the week, and I'll catch you in the next one.